Today, we'll be looking at the attitude of a very important figure in the Bible, and his name is Paul. There is something documented in the book of Philippians, chapter 3, verse 13 and 14, and I'm just going to read that to you very shortly. And that place says, Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching for the things which are before. And verse 14 says, I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. So this place is a picture of the attitude of Mr. Paul or Apostle Paul. And then you could pick out some very important lessons from this passage. And the first thing is that he said, I count myself not to have apprehended. Okay, so there is an attitude of always wanting to go ahead. The year has just come to a half. Now, the first half of the year has ended, has just come to an end, and we are joining into the second half of the year. And this is a good opportunity for myself and yourself to do a drawback, to begin to put down and look at things in perspective. What are the things I had wished to have achieved in the first half that I didn't achieve? And what are the modalities I am putting in place to see that these things will come to pass in the second half? And you know what? Whether you do anything or you don't do anything, it's just very clear that the second half of the year will come to an end very soon. And so the best time to start acting is actually now. So looking at Paul there, he said, I count myself to not have apprehended, meaning have not gotten hold of that which I was called or that which I was asked and I was ordained to do. So that attitude always keeps him on the press, always keeps him on the right mindset of trying to see how he can keep on pushing and pushing. And then he says, this one thing I do, that's the second thing. So he was a person of one thing. You see, the distractions we are having and the challenge we are having right now is the fact that we are doing too many things. Okay, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, and you're doing this. Why not just set out something to do for yourself? Why not just say, okay, this is the one thing I'm going to focus and stay on just one thing until it works? So that was what he said. He said, this one thing I do. He was a barrister, he was a teacher of the law, he could do things, but he was taking them one after the other in perspectives. So distractions are always there in this our generation. You see, we're in a generation where everything is just calling you. You know, the social media is calling you. Different issues are calling you. Your 9 to 5 is calling you, and you are not just focused on one thing. But he said, "This one thing I do." So identify one particular area where you want to stay on it until it works. He said leaving the next thing he did was he said leaving the things that were behind and reaching forward to the things that are ahead. So there's always it's not in all cases that the things that are behind will be the negative things. So good things can be the things that are left behind. There is a way the successes you recorded in the past will prevent you from getting into where you're supposed to go. You know, we just go back and ruminate and just ruminate and just ruminate on the successes and forgetting that it is past. I was reading about a very popular coach. You know, he's a baseball coach, and he was talking about the attitude of his players after the win, after a game. And he said whether they win or they lose in that match, they will always give themselves a 2 day gap. So the match was played on Saturday, and he came out victorious with his team. He would give them Sunday to enjoy the win and Monday. By Monday evening or Tuesday early morning, that memory has been deleted or has been pushed into a long-term storage, and then you are now focusing on what is on the table. He said that attitude had helped him because he was interviewed and he was asked why they kept on being the champion, you know, year after season, they kept coming out and kept coming out and kept coming out and winning. And he said this was the attitude of leaving the things that are behind to stay behind and then forging out for the things that are what ahead. So this is what Paul was saying that I do what? I do one thing, and the very one thing I do is the fact that I leave the things that are supposed to be behind. I leave them to stay behind. I leave the successes. I leave the failures. Some of us we still try to go back. Oh, if not for this one, if not for the no, just leave those things where they are, and then forge for the things that are ahead. Right? And in verse 14, he said, I press. So that word I press, I was just thinking about the word I press. And I press actually means that you are going against gravity. You are going against your natural body. Nobody really wants to press too much. You consider these guys that do exercise and you go out there, you're gymming every day you're on the gym. Your body is saying contrary to your actions. That's the I press. So I press there means that even when I don't feel like it, I just have to press. Even when I don't feel like recording this video, I have to come record this video because I have to record this video, right? So that's a typical example of the I press. I press. And why am I pressing? I am pushing, I am pressing because there is a mark. He said, I press towards the mark. That's the next thing. So a mark has been set. So who is setting the mark for you? Who is setting the mark in your own life? What's the standard? What's the minimum standard? What's your minimum place of acceptance? Some of us we don't just have our standards, we just accept everything. So this one comes, oh, follow me today, let's go here. You oh, you're already going. Because you don't have a mark. So okay, take this illustration. We are playing a football match, and it's a very maybe the football match that has to do with all the stars in the world of soccer or football, and there is no goalposts. So how do you measure the success of that football match? Obviously, you won't be able to count the number of goals that have been scored because you are just everybody's just passing the ball from one person to the other. We are just as if we are coming, we are passing to ourselves and all of that. No. And no matter how in the world of football, no matter how you possess the ball, there's something called ball possession. The degree or the percentage at which you keep the ball as a team. But that doesn't count at the end of the day. It is the number of goals that tell whether you have won the match or you have not won. So when there is no mark, how do you count your goals? Right? So you don't have the mark. So he said, I press towards the mark because there is a mark. There just has to be a mark. So in the second half, you don't want to approach the second half the way you approach the first half. You have to draw out a mark for yourself now. Personally, I have drawn out marks. I have reflected that look, in this second half of the year, I am coining out these videos. The number of videos I want to coin out, the number of research I want to do, the number of things I want to record for myself, I had to document them. And that's another thing, you have to put these things down. Some of us we just have this mark in our heads. But if you have it in your head, it's not as strong as putting it down on paper. So you have to look for a way to document it. Maybe if it's possible, paste it on your wall. Just make sure that you do something very radical about drawing this mark. That is what kept Apostle Paul. So that's why even in the rain, even in the cold, even in winter, even when people were about to stone him to death, at one point they wanted to stone him, and then he managed to escape, and he was already going to another city. That was the attitude he had. So I pressed towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. So somehow he knew there was a prize waiting for him. The prize of having eternity with God, the prize of setting the mark of the number of souls he would want to win. So he was always working with that mark and that prize at the end of the day. So, how and what do we pick up today? We pick up the fact that we are supposed to set up standards for ourselves. We're supposed to set, okay, this is July, by December, I should be able to get to this. By no means should you just want to live your life like that by chance. You shouldn't just live your life, living your life to chance. Anything, whatever shall be, shall be. No, there's nothing like that. You have to intentionally build it such that you set things, and this is going to help to keep your life in the right perspective. So as you are starting now, God is telling you to press. God is telling you to draw out a timetable, draw out a timeline. Maybe you should have a retreat. Maybe you are going out too much. Just do a retreat and just call yourself back to order and see, in this second half, this is what I want to achieve. Some of us, the things we had written down in January, our New Year resolution, it did not last for 2 weeks. And I'm not even sitting down here to tell you that mine actually that I fulfilled everything that I wrote there. No, it happens to everybody. But it's our place to go back to dust those papers. Let's go back and pick up those papers and try to see how we can dust them and see. And ask ourselves these questions. What are the things we had written down here? and how far have we gone with the things we had written down. And let's try to tailor it down to the second half. Okay, now from July to December 2026, because whether you like it or you don't like it, December 2026, it's going to come. And it will be so unfortunate that it's coming to end and meeting you at the point where you were in July 2026. So that's why we had to pick up this. This has been a concern to me. And then I just felt I should just share out and pour out my heart as regarding these scriptures. So go back and try to see how you can meditate on the scriptures to have a wider perspective on what the Lord is going to still tell you. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a very big crime that you saw this video and in December 2026, your life remains like this. You can do something, you can become a better person, you can learn a new skill, you can get a new job, you can anything you have desired for yourself can actually be achieved on the second half of the year. So thank you very much for. I hope you got one or two things from these few minutes we spent together. We'll be doing this more regularly. We're putting this up for you to see how we can just call out lessons from the scriptures to see how we can encourage ourselves in this space. So thank you very much. Kindly consider subscribing, dropping a comment, and then maybe if this video challenged you one way or the other, just share with us your own perspective on this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.